Yo, Joe, let's talk Chris Carson. Let's get him off.
Let's talk. Trader Joe's trades. Let's go. I'm open.
3. That was a bad clap. I missed my hand.
I'll even clap him for you.
That was the most unathletic thing I've ever seen you do.
Yo, hey, Maul, you got to add that to the beginning intro, yo.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Week 8 within the Indecision Cave, and I'm your host, Ryan Grace, and I'm joined by the best cast that could ever be formed, man. We got the all-time leader in Indecision Cave regular season wins, our man, Just Blaze. Justin, how you feeling, man?
It's regular, man. Good old Wednesday.
That's what I like to hear. We got our man, Craig David, in the back. Craig, how you do? Oh, Joe. You listening to Craig David?
I am not. I don't know who the young man or who he is.
That's disappointing. Like Justin said before the show started, a light-skinned legend in the R&B game. Craig, I know you're probably a big fan tuned in.
Sorry, Craig.
Yeah, we apologize for that, man. Commissioner Ashton Jones here, ladies and gentlemen. Commissioner, how you feeling, man?
Yo, we made some moves this week, man. We just trying to come up, bruh. Just trying to come up.
There you go. And the young boy, Anthony Mahan. How are you, sir?
I just want a week where all my receivers are healthy.
Okay, there you go. I like the positivity to start. Ashton, we're going to kick it right to you, man. We're going to start with you. You were involved in some trades. We know from earlier in the week that Joe and you Joe was sending out the bug. He wanted to make some trades. But since then, you've gone and made an acquisition, a trade with Joe. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sorry, my mom decided to walk in and make mad noise as we were recording, so forgive me and her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See, there you go. Restate that again, because I muted myself.
Your trade this week, man, with Joe, and some other moves that you've made. Talk to us about them.
Earlier this week, or maybe last week, so it was moved last week. Well, actually, I'll tell you 3. So I had 3 trades on the books. First one, last week, I made a trade with Just Blaze, Philip Lindsay for Noah Fant. I think I talked about on the last podcast, I needed a tight end, so I was able to maneuver that. I think I also talked about it on the last podcast as well, but I was able to acquire Antonio Gibson from the Auntie Anthony's, not Anthony Mahan, but the Auntie Anthony's, for Tua Tagovailoa and Melvin Gordon. And today, I was able to trade some draft picks or just do some swaps with Trader Joe's as he continues to trade Will Fuller and Russell Gage. I know I play him this week, but Will Fuller's on a bye, but at least going into next week, I'll be able to have a receiving core that consists of Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, and Will Fuller. So hopefully having Russell Wilson and Dalvin Cook and Antonio Gibson as my QB and RBs, I'm hoping to make a late season push as I'm 2-5. So just trying to make moves, trying to make the playoffs, trying to keep that going, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely a solid core, and I think the moves that you made put you in a position right now to really make some noise. And then even into the future, T. Higgins obviously is a star. You can't keep Dalvin Cook, but Antonio Gibson's on some kind of a deal based on where he was drafted, and Russell Wilson. So we get to keep 3 keepers in this league. I don't know if those are your guys, but that's a nice little
Russell Wilson, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins. That's what I'm going with right now.
You're keeping 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, man. I can't let Russell go for cheap, and I got Joe Burrow for cheap, so I can't let either one of them 2 go, and I'll just rock out with T. Higgins. Just those are all late-round picks, so.
Which you could change your mind, though, because originally Devin Singletary was your keeper until you switched
until we all heard that he was going to be Basuda, which he has been for the most part, so.
Joe heard that part, which was interesting, but what I heard was by keeping 2 keepers, our commissioner has already committed to an adjustment in the league strategy next year. Adios defenses in the indecision game. Before we get too far down that road, I know, Justin, we're not going to do that. I'm not kidding, but I'm kidding. We're gonna hit you guys with this new, dare I say, stat that we've added to the Indecision Cave. And for the first year in our league's history, we've tracked coach ratings. And so pretty much coach ratings, simple math, it's your actual week score divided by what your maximum score would be if you were to have potentially maxed out your lineup. And so by doing that, we've seen a few different things happen, including like an adjustment in the standings. The biggest one being that John Bellamy, who is in first place in our league, in regular league, he's pretty much out of the playoffs if we were to keep the what-if standings. But on top of that, with the new coaches rating, we see that our number one coach of the year at the midway point in the season is none other than, drumroll please, Ant Mahan. Mahan, man, what have you been doing? What has your team been showing you that makes you put the right lineup, the right starters there every week to have a grade of 92 at this point in the season?
Honestly, I just think I have solid depth. Going into the draft, especially, I mean, having Derrick Henry as a fourth-round keeper definitely helps. Being able to get another solid running back, Josh Jacobs, on top of that. And, my receiving core, Chris Godwin, Kenny Galladay, DeVante Parker, got Darrell Henderson in off of waivers. I just think I have depth, and week to week, I don't think many people can say that they can plug 4 running backs into their lineup or, have, a tight end at their position, but then also another tight end at the flex. I could plug and play really anybody, and it's worked out. Even the weeks that I've lost, aside from the Harper hamstrings 170 piece, I've stayed competitive roughly. And I don't think, for last article, I don't think I've been under 100 points so far this season. So, yeah, man, it's all about having depth and paying attention to matchups, trusting your guys, and being able to adapt to injuries, which I've had a lot of them.
Hey, Ant, real quick, who was one of your other losses to? I know you said the Hartford hamstrings. Who else?
So I lost to Banks, and then there's some – I'm having a hard time seeing on my screen. So somebody from week 3, I don't know who that is.
Was it a nail biter?
A little bit,
So you lost by 2 to New Bedford Whalers. Ashton, so we've unveiled this new stat, and we know who the best coach, at least through the midseason point, is in Mahan. He's done a great job. You fall somewhere in like the 6th or 7th rank. Do you put too much stock or any stock in this coaching thing? Do you think there's any skill to putting the best fantasy lineup together? Does it mean anything?
No, I mean, I know I threw some heat at you earlier this week on the coach of the year, and that's probably because the past 2 weeks I've been at the bottom, literally at the bottom of the coaching ratings, and that's because Keelan Cole, literally, he balls out. I'm like, all right, cool, let me give him a chance against a sus defense, and they just got to Gardner Minshew, and that boy couldn't throw to anyone on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he ended up being a dud for me. But, I mean, my only qualm about it is teams where their bench is mostly on buys are going to get a higher coaching rating, and then teams that have a weak bench, there's going to be people on your bench that you're never going to put in your starting lineup unless you have someone on a bye week. And so just those 2 things come into account. But for someone like Mahan to be number 1, he has a stacked squad, and his bench is pretty stacked. So for him to have a high percentage with so many options to plug and play, as he talked about, I don't know about ever having 2 running backs in my flex, which he has to do this week. But for him to be able to sustain that with the injuries and all that, I think it just speaks to him being able to maneuver, adjust his lineup, and just listening to the right advice, hopefully from this podcast, but also other podcasts out there for him to be a successful coach. And I mean, he's not at the top of our league, but he's definitely competing for a playoff spot and a championship. So kudos to the little cuzzo,
There you go.
even though he's a bit taller than me.
Thank you. I just wanted to point that out.
I got you, bro.
Trader Joe, so if we were to kind of apply like letter grades to this, Mahan is in first place with an A-, and you're like right there, even though you're number 9 of 12, you got an 87, which is about a B+. We saw in week 1, you actually, had you maxed out your lineup, you would have beaten Banks, and you'd be at 2 and 5. Like, obviously in that situation, or 2 and 5 instead of 1 and 6.
No. Let's just rewind to like 2 weeks ago where he could have had a win if he didn't tell his opponent to pick a quarterback that dropped 30 on him. So let's just add that to it.
Yeah, that's another one. And so Joe, I mean, okay, let's actually play that out a little bit, Joe. You don't tell Mo about the situation and he doesn't switch his quarterback. You play the right lineup against Banks. You're sitting then at that point around 3 and 4, right? As opposed to 1 and 6. what would you be doing right now to make a push? Did you like your squad enough to kind of stay packed, or would you have been in Trader Joe mode at 3 and 4?
I loved my team. I'm definitely biased. I definitely could have done a couple things differently in the draft, but I still loved my team. I thought, to Fitz's point, or his question the other week, is Joe the best 1-5 team that you've seen? And I would argue maybe, probably. At 3 and 4, I would definitely be in buy mode, not sell mode at all. As I always say every week, I'm a natural optimist. 3 and 4 is definitely attainable to get in the playoffs, because typically all you need is to be 500. And even in our league, we've seen it where you're one game out of being 500 and you make the playoffs. And it's fantasy football, dude. Like, you can have an elite squad with a bunch of all-stars and legit your top 2 players go down 1 week, just like that, just that easy. And now the league is wide open. So I think it's always good to keep having that fighter mentality, unless you're 1 and 6. At that point, you just take what you got and realize that you don't have a winning squad. Look to next year.
Yeah, no, you definitely got to build towards next year. Justin, I'm going to throw to you real quick to round out the round table sort of thing. You're 5 and 1 in the real league. You're 5 and 2 in the real league. 5 and 2 if we maxed out your lineup, man. What are you seeing that's a lot? Like, how is your team so consistent week in and week out? It doesn't matter what you do. What is the magic to 40 wins and just being so consistent?
It's no magic, man. Just take it 1 week at a time. It just so happens I'm one of those situations where my bench isn't as strong as my starters. So pretty much every week I'm making the right decision. The past couple of weeks, I've just happened to have like Randall Cobb doing a little better than one of my flex players. But outside of that, it's just going week by week playing the matchups.
Video.
As you guys know, or as we've introduced, Ashton's mom is on the podcast today. But on top of that, we've unveiled the new Coach of the Year rankings. Mahan is number 1. We'll periodically touch base and have people come in, talk about where we're at. And then at the end of the year, it'll be awesome to see who within the Indecision Cave is the Coach of the Year, and if that has any impact on that person being in the playoffs, winning the championship, things like that. When we get back from this commercial break, we're going to talk about the matchup of the week featuring Big 40 Wins Justin as he travels to New Bedford to take on the Whalers, who scored 292.7 points last week. No, 192.7 points last week. It was a blowout regardless. I apologize. When we come back, Justin versus Ryan within the Indecision game.
Strong tap.
Can we just talk about how I started out 1 and 3 and I've won 3 games in a row?
No, we won't.
Respectfully.
We could.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Week 8 in the Indecision Cave. And as you can see, maybe even at the end of the last segment, but definitely in this segment, we have been graced by our guy, Rashawn McKenzie.
Right to the middle.
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm glad to be here another week. You know, I love it here.
There you go. We love having you here. Joe, during the commercial break, you seemed a little salty towards Rashawn. Is everything okay?
Oh, no, not salty at all. I was just very curious. Typically, when someone reaches out to say, hey, is such and such player available? Say, yes, they're available. This is what I'm looking for. And then they don't say anything. So I was just curious. You know, he at least showed interest, but then the interest went away. But go ahead, Rex.
Yeah, it was just a busy day. I thought I could sneak in a quick text to ask about a player. And then when I realized I didn't respond, it was like 11 o'clock. So I didn't want to, you know, be disrespectful and text at 11 o'clock like, yo, you know.
Yeah, but now we can solve it right now, fellas. What's going on?
Yeah, what's the word, yo?
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, so why not for podcast sake? I was curious. You reached out about Mike Davis, who really seems to have value for the only one more week. I think Christian McCaffrey will come next week. So I was interested why you would. Were you thinking I was going to like give him away for free? Was that really what you were saying?
Not necessarily for free. You know, you never know. You know, ankles are tricky. So Christian McCaffrey might come back. You know, and still, you know, that ankle injury might linger a little bit. So just figuring I could, you know, take him off your hands just in case that ankle injury does reemerge.
Well, it's not 11 o'clock. It's 8:34. So you got some time. If you're still interested in Mike Davis, feel free. We can pick up our conversation after the podcast.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Just real fast. Also, I mean, we can know why he did that because if he moves his head, you can see what team he roots for. So we call him the Raging Panthers since literally 80% of his team are Panthers or former Panthers. But outside of that,
80% of my team this season is definitely not Panthers or, you know, old Panthers players. Yes, in the past, I definitely did draft Panthers players. In 2015 to be exact, when I made it to, you know, the bowl. But we're not going to touch base on that one. Shut up, man. Shut up.
All right, so I'm just going to count it off. Rob B. Anderson.
Yes.
Cam Newton, former
Okay.
Panther. Curtis Samuel.
Okay. Is that 80%?
And hopefully Mike Davis.
Hopefully.
Is that 80% though? Yes or no? I wasn't great in math, but I know that's not 80%.
I'm not a statistician, so I really can't provide you with numerical.
So as Ryan, continue
advice.
as you were. We're done with action as you were, Ryan.
Also, just real fast, I heard Mike Davis's role. He will still have some form of a role in that offense when Christian McCaffrey comes back. But I also saw that Christian McCaffrey will retain his regular duties. So I don't know what to believe, but the latest I saw is Mike Davis will still have a part in the offense. To what extent, who knows? But you want to save your man's leg.
Usual 45 carries a game.
Rashawn, real quick, something I want to ask you about. As everyone knows, last segment we were talking about the new coaches rating, and a quick gaffe is that in week 7, you put up the worst coaching rating in the league so far this season, where you started only 50.57% of the correct players. That means your bench actually outscored your starters. What happened?
First, I'm gonna start off with Cam Newton. He fumbled the bag for me. You know, he gave me negative points.
Nice.
So Carson Wentz was my backup quarterback who outplayed Cam Newton. I didn't see that.
Question for you.
I didn't see that coming. You're not cutting me off. I'm gonna continue talking.
No, just real fast. You picked him off a waiver though, right? You picked him up off a waiver though, right? This is a hit on our producer. You picked him up off a waiver, right?
I did.
Okay. Thank you.
So, as I was saying, I fumbled the bag, and I started Mike Williams over Diontae Johnson. I thought, you know, Justin Herbert and Mike Williams was going to reconnect and do the same damn thing they did the previous week. I was wrong with that one. Diontae Johnson went off. So those were my big fumbles right there, starting Cam and Mike Williams.
Yeah,
you're looking out.
Granted, I was still gonna lose anyways. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, had you maxed out your lineup facing Mahan, you still would have lost by about 11 points, and instead you lost by 83 points. So
damn.
A loss is a loss, but one seems a lot better.
Yeah. Also chalk it up to karma. I think that was karma. I ended up playing Auntie Anthony. So, you know, big guy upstairs, like, we just gonna hand you an L for calling him Auntie Anthony.
I hear you loud and clear, Mahan. You got the W. You actually coached to 100% that game. That might have helped you leap to first place, starting all of the right players. But we're gonna transition real quick, fellas, because everybody knows what time it is. The matchup of the week, and we got a 5-2 team out there with the Kicker Lives Matter, traveling up 95 North to take on the New Bedford Whalers. So, Justin, other than the fact that you're going to lose this week, what are you seeing about your squad that has you even being a little bit confident taking on the Whalers?
I mean, we good. We chilling. We don't have no pressure. All the pressure's on the Whalers. After that spectacular performance last week, it's up to y'all to duplicate it.
100%. And I think we have the horses to do so. So I'm looking at your lineup, and I know your strategies, man. I've been around you long enough. We've been in this league for years. Obviously, you're not starting James Robinson or Laviska Shenault. Obviously, you're not leaving your defense empty. So there's no mental advantage, man. When you look at your bench, who are you plugging in? What's going on over there?
I mean, I'm gonna see how this week of practice goes and see who I can choose to put into those slots. Obviously, I'm gonna put in the top-rate Colts defense. I don't have the number one running back, so you kind of, got a little pass this week with that. I'm gonna figure some things out, move some things around. So, I mean, it's pretty much just looking at last week's performance with you guys. You guys had a lot of favorable defensive matchups. We're in the offensive era in the NFL now. There's only like 5 teams that play defense, so it should be a high-scoring matchup.
I like that confidence. One last question about your team. Do you see, and maybe you don't want to share this or whatever, but do you foresee yourself potentially starting both Saints running backs? You do have Latavius Murray on the bench. Or if he gets the green light, are you leaning more towards Tevin Coleman? A great waiver wire pickup, by the way. I put in a bid. You outbid me. Congratulations. But, you have to start a second running back most likely. Are you leaning towards Latavius or Tevin Coleman, assuming everyone's healthy?
I've been playing with the idea of starting both Saints running backs. I mean, they are playing Chicago. Looking how Chicago played last week, it could be a possibility. But like I said, I got to see what happens if Tevin Coleman gets cleared. You might be seeing him in action this week. So we'll see what happens.
One last question that I wanted to try to hit on before I open it up to if anyone else has questions for Justin, then we can get to my squad. Just generally speaking, from a fantasy perspective, you have Mark Ingram on your bench, and every week he's projected to score like an okay amount of points. This week it's like 7.5, something like that. Are you keeping him just off of his name strength, or do you think there's going to come a time where he's going to bounce back? Like, he was a pretty high pick. I don't know exactly where you took him. I'm assuming 3rd or 4th round maybe. And he hasn't produced. Like, what is going on just overall with Mark Ingram, you think?
That's just the Baltimore team in general. Like, there's no consistency with their offensive weapons. The backfield is a 3-headed backfield, maybe 4. There hasn't been a receiver that stood out just yet. They're winning a lot on the defensive end. With Ingram, I feel that he'll at least get me probably 4 or 5 more touchdowns before the season's over. It's just a matter of when.
Got it. And you've mastered the coaching thing, so you'll play him at the right time and things will bounce in your favor.
Exactly.
There you go. So as I look at my team in comparison,
well, Ryan, let me jump in. Allow me to cross-examine you. This is your team, and I'll take host for a second, just so we can give you a level playing field. So, CEH and Le'Veon Bell. You have Le'Veon Bell on the bench right now. What are your thoughts and why for those who may have a similar situation?
Yeah, so I thought last week was a little bit scary to be honest. I mean, Le'Veon Bell was on the field a little bit more than I was anticipating in his first game back. I know he wasn't injured. It wasn't like coming back off something like that, but learning the system. Ashton's a big Eagles fan. So are you. I apologize. You guys saw when it was Westbrook and Carell Buckhalter. Yeah, I see the jersey in the back. Even last year, right? I took Damian Williams with my 3rd round pick, thinking he was going to be the workhorse. And then they went and signed Shady McCoy, and just like out of nowhere, it was a split backfield. And then we saw the fruits of how good Damian Williams can be in the playoffs when I was already gone, and they went in the Super Bowl, thing like that. And so as soon as they sign Le'Veon, you get a little bit nervous, and I think that he's going to get the goal line touches. I think he's going to take some of the pass stuff away. I was happy to see that CH still got a bunch of carries. But I think where he had the potential to kind of get me like 18 to 20 points. I think now I'm in the 12 to 15 range. And I think that the second that he fumbles the ball, it's obviously not detrimental to his career as a rookie, but I think here comes Andy Reid saying, okay, let's go with Le'Veon. And when he's bigger, stronger, more powerful.
So Le'Veon Bell as the goal line back for the most potent offense in the league, you don't want to start him?
No, I think right now the reason that I don't want to start him is because I haven't seen what they're capable of using him for. And so I don't want to make an assumption, right? Andy Reid might just be all in on this kid. And I'm talking about his tendencies, and this might be the guy who breaks his tendencies. He might see something in CEH. I saw a stat today that like CEH is top 3 in the NFL in rushes of 10 yards or more all season, behind like Kyler Murray's number 1. I believe Kareem Hunt's number 2, and then he's tied with Derrick Henry. So, you take Kyler Murray out of there, he's number 2 as the running backs with guys like Derrick Henry and Kareem Hunt, who's having a good year. So it's like the guy is a future star. And so Andy Reid might say, okay, let's give our future star some confidence, and not play Le'Veon in enough to take away the points kind of thing. I don't know. I was nervous week 1. I want to see Le'Veon after a few weeks when he's acclimated to the offense, see what they use him for. Right now, I just don't know.
Who
Okay.
do they play? Who do the Chiefs play?
Oh yes, yeah. No, and see, even that's something. Should I consider that, guys? Right? They're playing the Jets.
Yeah, start Le'Veon Bell.
You think so?
Yeah.
You're 1-6 though, bro. I don't know if I trust that.
I am. What do I say?
My
last question though is Mike Gesicki, your tight end. Was he hurt last week?
No, he was on a bye last week.
Okay. All right. Well, I was wondering why he had a donut and you had confidence to start him again, but that makes sense because he wasn't playing football.
He didn't play football, so I'm hoping. I'm at my wit's end with Mike Gesicki, right? Like I spent a bunch of money on him after he had a huge week. His first week with the Whalers, he had an week. The next week he balled out, and then he's had 2 not good weeks since. I'm hoping that Tua kind of changes that, right? Like I'm hoping just a new flow of the offense. Let's see how it goes, right? Like Fitzpatrick liked DeVante Parker. Fitzpatrick liked Preston Williams, and also he's a pro's pro, right? So he knows the NFL in and out. And so I'm hoping maybe Tua's a little bit nervous at first and goes to the security blanket. So I'm hoping check downs to running backs and some throws to the tight end until he gets comfortable.
You don't think Adam Sheehan or whatever his name is, the other tight end, who would probably be on the second unit, who would get some of Tua's catches in practice, you don't think he might be the beneficiary of some of his early looks as a tight end?
Yeah, no, and all of these questions will be answered sooner rather than later. I think literally today the Dolphins signed Sheehan to a 2-year extension, right? So there's something there, and I don't know what it is yet. I also saw Tua with Bama just whip the ball all around the field. I loved watching him. I'm excited for him to play. I think Rashawn got a star from you, Ashton, just in that regard. But I hope that there's a little bit of goosebumps or whatever, like stomach butterflies, and he gives the ball to Gesicki in his first game. That's what I'm holding out for, so I can get the W against Justin.
Okay, so
just real fast, I was offering up 2-0 to everyone all week, and Rashawn was the only one to bite. And so, if anyone was like, "Hey, Dan, you should have," just like Joe says, if you wanted him, you should have been in my inbox. But no one wanted.
There you go. All right,
so beneficiary.
Real quick, I think we should vote who we think the winner will be this week. Mahan, who do you think?
I bet against Ryan when he played you, and it ended up working out in my favor. I think there's a lot of boom potential because Pat Mahomes is playing the Jets, and let's be honest, the Jets are trash. But I'm going to have to go with New Bedford on this one. I really think that Mike Gesicki and Hollywood Brown are very big question marks to me, but Tom Brady's playing the Giants, and I don't even know if I'm going to have the stomach to watch the game, if I'm being honest with you. That's just really how it is. I'm going with New Bedford.
You're wise beyond your years, Mahan.
Rex?
Justin's my guy. But I'm gonna have to go with the New Bedford Whalers. Off the strength of I need Justin to lose along with everybody else that's in my division. But just looking at the matchups and the team strength, I think Ryan leans towards Ryan. So Ryan's definitely going to take home this dub.
Yes,
Ace.
Last time I picked Ryan, he did me dirty. Just want to call that out.
My bad.
And my dislike for Justin off of his fantasy God-given victory, because he ain't earned it. It was taken away from me. Just looking at Justin's team, I want to say Justin. Actually, I really don't want to say Justin. I want to say Ryan, but Ryan did me dirty, so I'm really in like a quagmire here.
Say a tie,
Tom Brady's playing the Giants, man, and CEH is playing the Jets. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, man. I really don't. I mean, it's also Cole Beasley plays the Patriots, and outside of Gilmore, and their defenses look sus the past couple of weeks. Boyd playing Tennessee is a little bit rough. Mike playing the Rams
playing
is
the
rough.
Panthers.
The Panthers, I don't know how they are on defense, unfortunately.
The run defense is and the secondary is so.
And then Kamara plays a tough Chicago defense, so Justin got an uphill battle, and I don't want to be down in our our pickup matchup, so I'm gonna go with New Bedford Whalers. Don't do me dirty this time, Ryan. I picked you once. Don't do me wrong again. It's over.
The best lineup I can.
I get Justin.
To wrap this segment up, for me it's pretty close, but the tiebreaker for me is the Chiefs playing the Jets. I think the Jets are going to get demoralized. I think they're probably going in scared, going in defeated. I just think they're just going to have a terrible game, and the Chiefs defense is probably going to be that X factor. So I'm going to go with the Ryan Graces.
Yes. I like the
Tank for Trevor.
I like this, man. Justin, you okay with what? 1, 2, 3, 4 people voting against you?
This happened last time, and yes, I'm still in second. So it's just part of the game, man. That's all.
But the last time it happened, you lost to Banks, right?
Yeah, by 10.
Let's go.
Decision. So
a loss is a loss, Justin. You know the deal.
Absolutely. We're going to see what happens this week.
Well, as long as I have my comrades' support, I feel confident we're going to put the best roster out there, the best lineup, and hope for the best. Facing the all-time leader in regular season wins. He's pretty much unbeatable. We're going to do the unthinkable. We're going to get it done as he travels out to New Bedford. When we come back from the commercial, we will hit you with your starts and your sits for Week 8 within the Indecision game. Solid clap if I do say so myself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indecision Cave. It's Week 8. I'm feeling great. Everybody knows I'm going to get this dub against Justin. But now we're going to go around the horn for a little start and sit. Mahan, Coach of the Year, man. Teach us a thing or two. Who you starting or sitting in Week 8?
Wish he was on my team to start in Week 8, but I'm going to have to go, as much as it pains me, I'm going to have to go with Carson Wentz to start. The Dallas defense is Wentz Carson.
All right. Producer.
So as I was saying, I'm going with Carson Wentz in Week 8. He's going up against Dallas. There's really not much more to say, but for the sake of detail, Dallas' defense is horrible. Obviously, they've been in sell mode recently, and they're starting Ben DiNucci potentially at quarterback. Apparently, they signed I think Cooper Rush back today. It's just really not looking good in Dallas at all. And I think Carson Wentz is probably, there's going to be a lot of 3-and-outs in Dallas, and Carson Wentz is going to be on that field a lot, and he's going to be throwing early and often. Travis Fulgham has been balling out, and Boston Scott has been solid receiving back.
Hopefully we get Jalen Reagor back.
In terms of my sit, I'm going to have to go with Parker, DeVante. Reason being is that, I think Personally, I think there's not much to worry about in terms of the switch of his quarterback from Ryan Fitzpatrick to Tua. But DeVante Parker is coming off of injury, and he's also coming off of injury right into a tough defensive matchup against the Los Angeles Rams, and he's going to be seeing a whole lot of Jalen Ramsey in that game. So when you add in the trifecta of, a new quarterback that he has to get comfortable with, in game time, dealing with an injury and dealing with one of the best cornerbacks in the league, I think that's too much to overcome to put DeVante Parker in the starting lineup.
There you go. Fellas, we might need to listen to him. He's the best coach we have in the league so far. Ashton, who are you starting and sitting this week?
Well, I was really thinking it through here, man. And I was trying to do like a hot take, but I'm gonna just stay on what I told people to do this past week's episode on waiver wire pickup, and I told people to pick up Brandon Ayuk, and I'm telling you to pick him and start him. And the reason why is the 49ers, they have no one to throw to besides George Kittle. They have a backfield that's riddled with injuries outside of, I think it's Haley or Hatley, one of the two, but Jared McKinnon had rib injury, so they were nursing that. They might get Tevin Coleman back. He got activated off of IR, so he's still in that 21-day practice window. So we don't know if he's playing or not. But what we do know is Brandon Ayuk is continuing to just gain so much production out of that offense, especially when we see Deebo Samuel's not play. I think he had like 73% of like their target share when Deebo wasn't there. And of course, George Kittle wasn't as well, but they're going to look for him often and early and kind of use him as a receiver, as a running back. So he's going to be kind of like your jack of all trades. My sit, I had a couple. I was going to say DeAndre Swift because they play the Colts, but I want to stay at receiver, and I'm going to also stay in my division, and I'm going to go say you're going to have to go and sit Darius Slayton. That might be kind of a no-brainer, but he plays James Dean or Jamal Dean, right? Jamal Dean, Justin? Yeah. And Pro Football Focus has him as the best cornerback in the league right now. So, hey man, if you're like, I have to start Slayton. I don't know who on this podcast has Slayton and might have to start him. But sit him. And if you also are on this podcast, you have DeAndre Swift, you also might have to sit him. Strange that it's on the same team. Weird.
No, not Swift and Slayton.
No, Mahan has both those players.
Oh, geez, poor Mahan. Real quick, just to tie a bow on the Ayuk stats, in the last game that he played without Deebo Samuel, 70 receiving yards, 31 rush yards, and a touchdown. With no Deebo Samuel, he could see another big effort. Let's go to Rashawn. Coach Rax, who are you starting and sitting in Week 8?
I'm starting Big Ben's new favorite receiver, Diontae Johnson. I fumbled the bag and I didn't start him last week, but I'm starting him this week. I want to say he had 9 receptions for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. As you can see, Big Ben isn't really targeting Juju Smith as he did in the past. It's really up between Claypool and Diontae Johnson. I think he found his favorite target in Diontae Johnson. My sit is Justin Jackson. Last week, Josh Kelly out-carried him in the touches last week, and they're going against a tough Denver's run defense. So I think Justin Jackson isn't going to get that much points for you this week in fantasy.
There you go.
And if we also throwing out stats, Mr. Statistician, Diontae Johnson has seen double-digit targets the last 3 games he's played. So he's been killing it. 23 receptions, 229 yards, 3 touchdowns. That boy's on fire.
He's on fire. Trader Joe, who are you starting and sitting this week?
I'm going to start with my start. It'll be Zack Moss. If you are desperate at your number 2 running back spot or your flex, he is someone that you can reach for. He outplayed Devin Singletary last week. Devin Singletary had 8 carries for 29 yards. Zack Moss had 7 carries for 47 yards. I could see a changing of the winds where they switch it and make Zach the number 1 running back just for production, and he's out producing right now. He got you 10 points last week if you started him, which you probably didn't. But again, if you need to reach out there and you're hurting, he's someone that he could have a good game against the Patriots, who their offense is struggling right now. And if they can't get it together right now, then the Bills may have to they'll probably be leading and then trying to run the clock out, so he might get some yards for you. It is actually someone pretty surprising, and the owner is with us today. It's Josh Jacobs. He had less than a 50% snap rate for all the snaps for the entire offense. He didn't play not one third down. So you probably don't have the flexibility to sit him, but if you can, if you're in the shorter league with 10 players, definitely 8. You can sit him, and because right now it's not looking too promising for someone who's going to be RB1.
Can we get a tally on how many sits are on the Mahandalorians this week?
Yeah. Now, why would you send that negative energy in my back?
I ain't sending the energy. I'm just scoping out the landscape here, bro. That's all.
Well, we're not going to hate on him for too much longer. We're going to throw to Justin instead. Justin, who are you starting and sitting this week?
This week, finally, I think it's safe to start AJ Green. It's looking like he's finally got that rhythm back. He's been getting some looks, specifically last week. I think he had 80 yards, but seven catches, something like that. So I think he's finally got that rhythm with Burrow going forward. And it's going against Tennessee. Tennessee ain't stopping nobody on defense. So I think AJ Green is good to go forward with my sit. And it's going to hurt me a little bit to say because I'm a fan of this guy. But I'm going to say sit CeeDee Lamb. Receiver for Dallas. We don't know what's going on in Dallas right now. We don't know who's going to start for quarterback. Last game, he literally had, 0 points. Game before that, he had a lot of garbage time points. So until they get that situation set, got to put CeeDee Lamb on the bench.
Shoot, they don't even know who they starting at running back either.
Ooh.
Is that a thing?
No, it's not.
It's not a thing, but Tony probably be getting more carries than Zeke.
Is there a Zeke owner right now here?
Huh? Who? Where?
Okay, well, I do have a Mr. Pollard on my bench. Just throwing that out there.
This is Zeke. So I'm going to just hit you guys with my start and sit to finish off the round table. Rashawn, you'll like this in part. I'm all in on Melvin Gordon this week, mostly because I think Philip Lindsay's not going to end up playing. And in the games without Philip Lindsay, he had 240 yards, 3 touchdowns on 60 touches in 3 games without Philip Lindsay. So if Philip Lindsay doesn't play, I think you can definitely start Melvin Gordon. I know the Chargers have a strong defense. I know the Broncos aren't exactly loaded on offense, but I'm in on Melvin Gordon this week, even as a flex play if Lindsay does play, but definitely start him as your running back if Philip Lindsay's out. But then who I'm sitting, interestingly enough, we were just talking about him in the last segment. I am nervous, but I'm sitting Le'Veon Bell, fellas. And the reason is that there's still so much questions about what his role is going to be in the offense. If Andy Reid kind of lets him go out there and sort of do his revenge thing, then I'm probably screwed, right? But they rolled through the Broncos last week, and he still didn't get that much love, right? Like even after the game was out of hand, it wasn't like they said, okay, CEH, chill out. We're going to give Le'Veon some more touches. We're going to give him some more love. So I don't know what Andy Reid's doing, but until I do, I'm fading Le'Veon Bell, despite the fact that it's a revenge game and he's going to really want to kill the Jets. So for this week, at least, I'm going to shade Le'Veon Bell. Fellas, any other thoughts, questions, concerns heading into week 8?
Yeah, Ryan, I remember some time ago, multiple weeks, you've put out there that a lot of the New Bedford Whalers were available for trades. What happened? Are you satisfied with your team now? Did the trades talk sour? Are you set?
I think at least right now, the players that I'm most interested in trading haven't done enough to warrant the sort of compensation that I think they should get me, right? And so when I offer someone something for Julian Edelman, right?
Knew it.
In the past few years, he's been so consistent, a lot of targets, a lot of catches. And I'm still holding on to the fact that as soon as Cam starts clicking again, why not go to the slot guy who's running 7-yard routes, who sits in the zone, who ends up blowing up, right? But I can't trade him based off of what I think is going to happen and his past seasons. So
I mean, what I found is people definitely have different values. That's what you think, but someone could be like, "Yo, I could buy him low right now." So, like for example, I might have this was the easiest trade negotiation with Eugene recently when I traded. Obviously, for him, it was the easiest to get Allen Robinson right now to help him, compete for a championship, and I got Dallas Goedert, but I didn't think he would be so open to it because for me, I view Dallas Goedert as a keeper next year at a really, really good value. And he was up. No, go ahead, take him. And, I was shocked at that. So, yeah, sometimes it's just worth throwing it out there to see if someone thinks differently rather than selling high after a really good week.
Yeah, no, and I've tried it all. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not that Julian Edelman's the only person that I've shopped. It's not that I've said, oh man, like I have this crazy value for him. So if it doesn't look right, I'm not in. Right? Like you're telling me the exact thing that people are trying to do, and that's buy low, right? And I know
right and offer low prices. I got you.
Right. Like, and so when we're talking low prices, you guys have been in this league for the last 6 years. You know what low prices look like within the indecision cave, right? Like we're not talking like even a fair deal at some points. And that's okay, right? Everybody should be trying to get their teams better. I understand that, but I have a little bit more savvy than that. And I have a little bit more trust in some of my players than to kind of let that thing kind of happen.
Right.
The last thing I'm going to be is the guy who's made a fool of. Right. And so I'll keep Julian Edelman and suffer through it.
Has someone been made a fool of in this league?
No, I'm not. I didn't mean it like that. I'm just talking about to trades in general. Right. Like I either need to know it's super fair or I need to know I won the trade. And sometimes that happens. Right. And I might look at the win differently than someone else. I'm not talking about Megatron for Ashton in a trade where everyone knows it's a win. It's just like when I look at my trade, I have to feel like I won or that it's fair. I cannot even kind of feel like I lost for me to accept it, even if the future could work out. That kind of thing. But real quick, before we sign off, I just wanted to kind of ask you guys your thoughts on the addition of the trading for draft picks. There was some worries within the chat. There was some worries going on. And, Joe's traded some picks. Ashton, you were a little worried, and now you bought into it, made a trade for some draft picks. Like, do you guys think this is going to go awry in the league, or are we okay?
Mahone, I kind of want to hear from you. What's up? What you think?
Personally, I'm all for it. I mean, I think it can very well go awry. I think, and specifically speaking, in Joe's position where, because I don't know if it's still a thing that I don't know if last place punishments are still a thing, but
no, it's not until Eugene does something, and even still, it wasn't said before the start of the season. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
I feel like
I love how
that's
quick
still
Joe
part
was
of it,
saying
though.
to that. But if last place punishments are a thing, I think while Joe might be setting himself up for humiliation this season, and maybe I probably in his position would have jumped into sell mode a couple weeks later, maybe closer to the trade deadline to at least try to squeeze out some more wins. But I mean, it can go awry, but it can also very well benefit. I mean, Eugene has Allen Robinson. He's competing for a playoff spot. Me personally, I'm just trying to stay competitive with the roster that I have. But, who knows? That could change in a week or two.
Also, side note, Allen Robinson is in concussion protocol, so.
Well, there you have it.
Anyone else passionate for or against the trades in the season?
Me personally, I still think trading draft picks is really risky in the middle of the year. But if y'all gonna approve it, y'all know me in video games, I'm a trade. So it is what it is. Like y'all might have unleashed a monster in Joe, not me. But I mean, if people want to do it, sure. But I'm not gonna be outside looking, and I'm definitely gonna sell. And like I said, Joe set himself up for success for years to come. He has Dallas Goedert for years. He was drafted in the 13th round, so next year he was the 12th on a guy that he could have gotten in mid-round, 6th, 5th, 7th, depending on how he looks when he comes back, which he's off of IR now. So Justin traded for someone that he could possibly start this week and traded away someone who could also not start this week. And he also got a 3rd-round draft pick. So he has 2 3rd-round draft picks going into next year. And that's prime, right? That's where you get like 2 quality players that can solidify your team and take you above the top. So Joe might not make the playoffs this year, but he's definitely looking at that push next year.
On that note, Chris Carson is still available this week. This week, he's a game-time decision. So he'll be available next week. Dude, I drafted him in the 2nd round, and he's been playing like he's a first-round pick. Chris Carson is that guy. So if you want to solidify your team, Justin, Sean, reach out to me. Let's talk. Trader Joe's are open for business.
Trader Joe's are open for business. The last thing that I want to say on it, to try to put a little bit of a bow, at least until we rehash the discussion, is that we're trying to get a little bit more dynasty and owner-esque. Right. And so sometimes people make those decisions to put themselves in positions to win now or to win in the future. And I think as long as everyone stays in the league, then you know what you gave up. You understand that, right? My only fear, which Ashton highlighted earlier in the week, is that like if someone makes a trade this year, kind of blows it up to win now and was to leave the league, and now someone's coming in hypothetically doesn't have like their 2nd and 3rd round pick, that would be god awful. But I think we have a consistent group that's been here for 6 years, will stick around for more than, hopefully forever. And we'll be owners, right? We'll be owners, GMs, and coaches, hopefully knocking Mahan off the Coach of the Year throne sooner rather than later.
Relax.
I have one quick note to put on like the burner for next year for last place. Maybe instead of like a penalty, we could still do a penalty, but we clearly can't come to a agreement on what penalty. But maybe they give their league due, so they just whatever our league due is $50, and they donate it to a charity of the whoever.
Oh, come on! No, we need something humiliating. Like
I hear you.
We're drafting in person starting next year, so they got to wear like a dress or something crazy.
I
Like
mean, cool.
we gotta.
And you come up with the idea here as last place in the league. It is now your duty to figure out what last place is going to have to do.
Nah,
and you have to do it
and no guarantee I'm gonna finish in last place. So
I bet. Well, if you do, then your job as last place is to figure out a last place penalty and then also do the same penalty, right? So if you give a penalty, you also have to do the penalty.
Since we're talking about forward into next year, I'm going to just put this out here right now. I'm down to do a fully dynasty league.
Let's go.
We might get there, Mahan.
Let's go.
That we'll save that for another day and another show.
I'm down.
Ashton's down.
Down.
We might
And Justin,
let's get IDP. Let's get some IDP. Let's not.
No. And Justin took my waiver wire. Let's all scream at the same time.
My bad, bro. Apologies.
Tevin Coleman, how much you spend? I put like $13-14.
Wasn't enough.
20. He won at 20.
Nice.
Yeah, I only went with 11.
Nice.
I see you
guys work though, because no one mentioned Tevin Coleman on the waiver wire, yet he went for the most money. You guys are fraudulent on this show, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know who we're dealing with. I thought they would trust.
No. Wait. Last week you said you had a source who is the guru for defenses, and I said, "Oh, who's the guru? Share it with the audience." Oh, I can't share that.
Yeah, I was very upfront about what I can and cannot share. You guys.
Oh, okay.
But I want to wish you all the best of luck in week 8. Joe, you don't need it. You're in tank mode. Mahan, do you need it?
I think I'm all good.
Okay.
Yeah, don't wish it for Joe because I play him, so I need all the bad
Hey,
luck.
Chris Carson, come on. Let's play this Sunday.
I told Kyle, I'm like, yo, watch Joe beat me this week. I'd be vexed.
Yes.
Vexed. Tevin Coleman comes back. That takes away Jared McKinnon. I'm like, yo, come on, man.
Yeah, it's bad.
Come on.
Rashawn,
Yo,
do
Joe.
you need good luck this week?
Nah, I don't think so. I just need, Joe to beat Ashton and whoever Eugene plays.
Let's go.
To beat Eugene and, just to lose. So, I don't
Yo,
think I
Joe,
need it.
let's talk Chris Carson trade. Let me get him off.
Let's
your team
talk.
before-
Trader Joe's trades. Let's go. I'm open. Rex, you got an hour and 40 minutes.
Kai, if you're watching this, my comment every week, we're on to replacement refs.
Dang, man. Justin, we all know you need a lot of luck this week. Nebraska up 9-5 to take on the Whalers. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Look, bro. That's all I got.
No gems from Justin, no jewels. That means he's super serious, as we all are with our fantasy.
He's focused, man. Trying to get the first one.
Trying to get like me, Ashton, Mahan, and Joe. Sean does not have a trophy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this week. Good luck to everyone except Justin within the Indecision Cave.